Well, a very, very warm welcome, guys. Hello again, and welcome to another episode of Student Problems. My name is Cassim. I want to firstly start off by saying thanks very much for joining me today. I really appreciate it, and I hope that perhaps something that I share with you today can help you in your life somehow, whether it be a strategy, it be a philosophy, it be a tactic, but perhaps something that I share with you today can give you some level of insight or some level of clarity or some level of guidance in your life to become a higher, fuller expression of yourself, and hopefully you can begin to get some of the things that you want in your life. So there are 5 different kind of issues that I want to deal with today that people have been writing about, that I thought you guys might be interested to know about, and I'm sure if you're looking down at the description below, you'll be able to see them, but let's just run through them quickly just to run through what they are. So the first one is entitled, Would It Be Wise to Do It? Which is about a girl who is torn between whether, well, you'll figure it out when I talk about it in a moment. The second one is my dad controls what I wear. The third one is my dream job. The fourth one is bad A-levels, year out of university, horribly depressed. And the fifth one is I want to go to university, but I only have GCSEs. Help me. All right. So I want to ask you guys, if you like what I share with you and you find it useful and you want to join our community, you're more than welcome to jump on my YouTube channel, Cassimotive, and subscribe to it. That's where I put most of my content. Secondly, if you actually genuinely have a question and you would like to kind of have a different perspective, you'd like to have a different opinion on it, don't be shy, email me, send me a message, DM me, and I will do my absolute best to try and give you sort of my perspective on it, give you a different view of the problem that you're going through or you're experiencing, and hopefully we can figure it out. Hopefully we can help you to become a higher, fuller expression of who you're capable of becoming. Okay, cool. So let's go straight into it. Let's not waste any time. And let's deal with the first one. So the first one is entitled, Would It Be Wise to Do It? And it goes something like this. Okay, so I'm still doing my GCSEs and I'm thinking about taking biology, chemistry, physics and maths A-levels. I want to do this because I'm still unsure of what I want to do and what I want to be in the future between dentistry or engineering. And I want to keep my options open of what I want to be. What do you guys think? Please be honest. All right, well, really interesting question. Well, I would firstly start off by saying the situation that you find yourself in is a situation that many people experience. You know, when you're younger, not even just when you're younger, but as you get older, you begin to realize that actually life isn't black and white. Life isn't either this or that. Life is a bit of both, and you've kind of began to experience that in your life at the moment, you know, and ultimately, if you are going to become successful at anything, in a way, you almost have to choose to go down a certain route. Now, that doesn't mean, obviously, that the route is going to work out. It doesn't mean that there's any guarantees that you're going to get success. But what it does mean is that at least you've chosen a route. At least you've gained some momentum. At least you can build some level of success in an area. You can become competent in an area. So let me break this. So firstly, let me go back and say the situation you're going through is very normal. All right. So this isn't something unique that no one else has ever experienced before. This is something which is very normal. Secondly, I've always believed that if you don't know what it is that you want to do, now obviously you are going to have to take A-levels whether you like it or not. But what I would do if I was in your shoes is number one, I would go and get myself a journal. Now, if you've never seen the reason why I talk about journals a lot, go on my journal entries. I have a show called Journal Entries. Go on there and have a look at it. But you'll understand why I talk about the journal. But the first thing that I would share with you is go and get a journal. The second thing is I would begin to study myself. Okay, because I have a philosophy which is that anything you want to improve, study it. If you're somebody who wants to get really good at golf, study golf. If you are somebody who wants to have a really a, amazing physique, study physique. Whatever area you want to improve or get, study it. So, if you are unsure about what it is that you want to do, my first question to you would be to study. My first point or guidance would be to study yourself. Start looking at, okay, what am I good at? Where is my leaning? What am I not good at? And that's the whole point of the journal. The journal is for you to write down there, what am I good at? What am I not good at? When I feel frustrated and I feel angry, what do I seem to be doing? That's the sort of stuff that you want to start writing down in your journal. The second thing that I would do is that I would begin to expose myself. What does that mean? So by exposure, I mean if you expose someone to something, it means that you make them aware of something which I guess that they didn't existed before, but they didn't know existed. One of the main reasons why a lot of people don't know what it is that they want to do in their life is because they've never been exposed to it. They've never actually been, they don't know that it exists. It's always interesting when I study people and people say, you know, I always wanted to become a doctor, or always wanted to become a musician or a producer, but I didn't even know that that kind of a job existed. I didn't have the language. I didn't know that was even a career. And so part of it is, if you're trying to figure out where you want to go and what you want to become and what you want to do, you want to actually expose yourself to as many things as possible. That means, do you know the easiest way? Because obviously at the moment we're in a lockdown. So if we're in a lockdown at the moment, the easiest way is to go and consume as many books as you can. Right? Go and get as many audiobooks, as many books that you can physically buy and read as possible. Because then you'll be able to expose yourself to a lot of things mentally, right? And what that's going to do is it's going to open up your options. Because at the moment, it would seem to me that essentially the only two options that really you're considering are either dentistry or engineering. Now, as you get older, one of the things you will learn is, and I try to articulate this to people as much as possible, is don't be concerned about the transportation to your dream. Don't be so concerned about your role, right? Because here's the point that I want to get at. You want to be a lot more focused on what is your mission. What is it that you're trying to do? How would you like the world to be? If you could wave a magic wand and you would like the world to be a certain way, how would you like that to be? You want to be looking at, how can I serve other people, right? A lot of the people, part of the reason why they are confused about what they want to do in life is because they're coming from the space of, what can people give me? How much can I earn? No. To actually become successful, you've got to ask, what can I give other people? How can I serve other people? How can I improve other people's lives? That's actually how you become more and more and more successful. In other words, let me put it like this for you. If you want to be successful, do not seek success. Seek to become a person of value. The more valuable you become, the more options are going to be available to you. The more opportunities are going to be open to you. The other thing that I would do as well, by the way, whilst you're on this, that I would ask you to do is to note that you've used a word, when you entitled this, you put in there that, excuse me, that would it be wise to do it? One of the things that we know about wisdom is that wise people make decisions based on loads of different factors. If you meet somebody who's wise, a wise person doesn't just make a decision based on one point of view. They will consider many different points of views. So in choosing whether you want dentistry or engineering, or you want to do something else, you want to start looking at, okay, well if I go down, let me go backwards. Part of wisdom is understanding the consequences. Basically, the more wiser you become, the better you become at seeing the consequences of your choices. right? So the wiser somebody is, the better they are at realizing, oh, okay, if I take this road, it means that this is what's going to happen. Now, obviously, you are too young to know what's going to happen if you make a certain decision. But guess what? If any decision that you're going to make, most of the decisions you're going to make have already been made by somebody else. So that's something that you need to get. Most of the choices and decisions and problems that you're going to experience, somebody else has already experienced them and has already gone through the very same problems that you're currently experiencing. So if you go and find those people and look at people and study those people's lives and study their choices and study their lifestyles of the people who made the choices that you're looking to make, you will realize, maybe that's not the road that I want to go down. Okay? Let me give you a bit of a quick story. So many years ago, I was an estate agent. And I started looking, and I did this exercise where I was like, okay, so clearly success leaves clues. If somebody keeps doing certain things in a certain way, after a period of time, they produce certain results. So I started, when I was an estate agent, I started looking at, okay, who is ahead of me? Who has made choices that are similar to me, or what choices have people made that have brought their life to be a certain way? And one of the things that I didn't want in my life is that I didn't want to work like 60, 70 hours every single week, day in, day out. I didn't want to do that. And when I became an estate agent, I realized, oh my God, people who are ahead of me are working sometimes 60, 70 hours every week. As I get older, I don't want to be working. I want to be helping other people rise and soar and become better. That's where I want to be spending most of my time. So I looked at their decisions and I thought, see, that's not going to work for me. And that's what you want to be able to do. And that's why reading is so important, to be able to do that. Because people write books usually because they've gone through something and they want to share with you what they've gone through, or they've been successful and they want to share with other people how they became successful. So you want to start looking at reading books, taking courses online. There's a really cool course online that you can take called Masterclass. Masterclass is amazing. It's got all these amazing people who basically give you their craft in a masterclass. They tell you all their principles, all their keys, all the things that allow them to become successful. Imagine that. So that is what I think I would share with you. In all honesty, to end this, and let me finish this on this, what you do for your A-levels really doesn't matter unless it is in some way related to what you want to be doing in the next 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. I would genuinely recommend to you, and this is if I was in your shoes, I would genuinely do what I needed to do. I would do any A-levels. Honestly, as long as I was good at them, and I kind of like you, if you say you're good at chemistry and physics and maths, I would genuinely say to you that I would do those. If I was good at business or I was good at cooking, I would do those. But whatever area I naturally was gifted in, that is the area which I would do my GCSEs in, and then I would spend the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years basically exploring myself, basically exposing myself to as much as I can. Because I can tell you right now, because I'm older and I'm old, that if you went and interviewed 1,000 people and you ask them the GCSEs that you took and the A-levels that you took, are you doing a job currently where you needed to have those A-levels in order to do these jobs, to do the job that you're currently doing? Most of the people, I would probably say over 900 of those people will tell you that the job that they're currently doing is in no way related to the A-levels that they took or the GCSEs that they took. Unless, and this is now where let me finish on this point. The only time I recommend that somebody be specific, particularly when they're like at uni or they're at A-levels, is if you're going to be specific about exactly the A-levels that you take. Even you need to know exactly what you want to become. So, for example, later on you will see that I've got to talk about a guy who wants to become an astronaut. Right, that's his dream. He's always wanted to become an astronaut since he was a child. Okay, it's the only thing he's ever wanted to do. See, if you wanted to become an astronaut, there is certain things that you have to do. This isn't like, oh, I can make it as an astronaut. There is certain criteria, such as you have to have been in the army, right, before you can become an astronaut. And so that means that your moves are strategic. You have to be strategic, and you have no choice but to go down a certain path and a certain route, right? And so what I would share with you is I don't think this is necessary unless you are absolutely certain that dentistry or engineering is what you want to do. And by the looks of things, if you're torn between them, then it means that you're not really sure. This hasn't been something that you've always dreamt of. So my question to you is, you want to begin, and my point is, you want to really start to expose yourself to everything that exists, everything that is available, everything that you can actually do. What other routes can help you to serve the people who you want to serve? What other routes can get you to achieve what you actually want to achieve? Don't worry about... Let me use a metaphor to explain this. If you're going, let's say, from London to, I don't know, Scotland, does it really matter whether you fly there or whether you drive there or whether you take a train? Not really. What matters is, if you're going to go there to see one of your best friends or to see a friend or to go to a concert, what really matters is you get there. It doesn't really matter how you get there. And the same philosophy is the same for your job. Your job, unless there is a specific route that you have to go down, it doesn't really matter what job you really do, right? As long as it is in your natural gifting, which, again, all that kind of stuff you learn as you start journaling about yourself, the actual journey, because it may change. You may need to reinvent yourself as you grow and as you develop. So I hope that kind of helps you out and gives you some kind of guidance in the direction of what I would personally do if I was in your shoes there. So that's the first one. Now let's go on to the second one. The second one says this: my dad controls what I wear. And it says this: I am 15-year-old Muslim girl in high school, and my dad is forcing me to wear an abaya. By the way, for those of you who don't know, an abaya is an Islamic dress. It's a really long dress, which basically is flat, so it doesn't show any curves or anything. It's not tight-fitting, it's very loose. I don't want to wear it because I'm still so young. This year in school, there is no uniform, and he is forcing me to wear an abaya, or I have to wear a long overcoat over anything I wear and make sure it's closed from the front. All my shirts are till my knees because he doesn't allow me to wear anything shorter, and even my jeans are loose. I told him that I can still dress up modestly without having to wear an abaya, but he doesn't listen to me. He's way too strict. Even if I keep the buttons open, he tells me to close them as it looks bad, and I hate it. He has even threatened to disown me if I don't listen to him. I have no self-confidence because of him. I don't know what to do. This is going on for 2 to 3 years. However, now I'm more serious. It's got more serious cause there is no longer uniform in school. Today was my first day of school, and everyone was wearing hoodies with jeans and casual clothes. It had rained all night. When I told him that, he says that I won't dress like that because in school I'm supposed to look decent and elegant, and school is not a place to dress casual. Wow, okay, cool. Well, let me firstly start off by saying thank you very much for the question. Secondly, let me tell you this. The situation that you're going through is... how do I put this? If you genuinely want a really good answer to this question, you are going to have to be open-minded. And what I mean is that you're going to have to be open-minded in the sense that you're going to have to see this situation not from your point of view, but from your father's point of view. Because, and this is now going to bring me to the first thing that I want to share with you, the number one thing that a father's role is to protect his child. That is the number one role of a man. You're the number one role of a man, and this is why I told you, you're going to have to be open-minded and see things from your dad's point of view. Because at the moment, you're not really seeing your dad's point of view, which is a major problem. So the number one role of a man when it comes to his daughters, particularly his daughters, is to protect them against primarily other men. Okay? And the reason why your father, and I'm going to be completely blunt and honest with you, okay? The reason why your dad is telling you to wear the abaya is because men, no, let me rephrase that. Boys at age 15 and above are about to hit puberty, okay? They're about to hit puberty, they are. And the reality is that puberty is hitting kids younger and younger and younger today, okay? And when boys get to about 15 or 16 and they're going through puberty, they haven't yet developed the ability of self-control. They are going through a phase in their life where it's all about bravado. They've got to show off who is going to get lose their virginity first, who can get the most girls. So boys at 15, 16 years of age are not looking out for your best interest, and they're not looking to, and I'm generalizing here, okay? There's always an exception to every rule. Clearly, there are some 16 and 7 and 15-year-old boys who are very sensible, who are very respectful, but I'm talking about the vast majority of men as a species, right? At 15, 16, 17, as puberty starts kicking in, the main thing that they want is sex. And I'm being completely honest with you here, okay? I could lie to you and give you some convoluted, fancy way, but let me just be blunt. The number one thing that a 15, 16, 17-year-old, 18-year-old boy is going to be wanting is sex from you. They do not want friendship. They don't want to be like cuddly, nicey, kind of let's be girlfriend, you're going to be my wife. That is not what they're looking for. And any woman who is promiscuous is basically gives men, and I know this is terrible for me to say this, but it's basically almost a non-verbal confirmation that yes, you can talk to me. When a woman is dressed up fully in a abaya and she doesn't have any curves and you cannot see anything, men don't even bother. They don't even want. You're just a not, right? It's like if you see a woman with an engagement ring or with a ring, you know it's a non-verbal cue. Do not approach this woman. Do not talk to her. Right? It's the same with long clothing. So part of the biggest reason why your father is trying to tell you this is because men know what other men are like. At 15, please let me assure you and tell you this, and I'm telling you this because I'm a guy and I have 3 sisters. Boys know boys. We know what boys are like. And I'm telling you that those boys have no intention. Now you can say, well, Cassim, you know, I'm a good girl and I would never do that. The problem isn't you. This is why I'm trying to tell you that you've got to see this from your dad's perspective. The problem is never hardly the girl. The problem is other males. That is the issue. Other boys at 15, 16, 17 years of age are the problem. Of course, you're a nice girl, right? He's your father. He's raised you to be a nice girl of modesty. You will recognize, even the way you've wrote this, you recognize that actually there is an advantage to being modest. You already know that there is a reason for that. But your father is trying to protect you, not against you, but against boys. So that's the first thing that I would share with you. The second thing that I would share with you is, you talked a little bit about I have no self-confidence because of him. So here's now one of the things that I'm going to share with you. There's a really interesting book called Boundaries that I would go and get, okay? So the book is called Boundaries by Dr. Let me see, let me see. It's called Boundaries by Dr. Henry Cloud. Okay, go and buy that book because it will help you be able to build some boundaries and set some limits between you and your father. All right. The second thing that I would share with you, third thing that I would share with you, is you need to start actually having a conversation with your father. Actually, you know, I'm going to presume that if you're Muslim, one of the things that you will know is that in the Islamic culture, there is a hierarchy, okay? And in fact, almost in every culture, there is a hierarchy where most parents are not looking to negotiate and cooperate with their children. They're there as dictators and they tell their children how they are. Okay, and if your parents are old school and they're traditional Muslims, you will know your parents are not going to negotiate with you. So you're looking to negotiate with them and you're looking to say, look, I'm not like that and let's come to a conclusion and let me wear this and let me wear that. Your parents are not going to do that because they're old school, because they're traditional, okay? They're conservatives. So what I would share with you is I would begin to just... Do you know what? In life, sometimes you have to just trust that someone is... You know, sometimes in life when somebody's forcing you to do something and you don't want to do it, but you later on you will go and appreciate them for doing it. I can share with you from experience and from my research, this is one of those times. Just trust your dad in this one area, okay? In the other areas, you'll be fine and you can argue and you can disobey him. But in this one particular area, men, this is the area we're good at. This is what the father is supposed to do. So let him do that. The other thing that I would start doing is, obviously, look, I would share with you that at 15 and 16, most 15 and 16-year-old girls want to fit in. They want to be part of the crowd. And I know that if everybody else in school is wearing a hoodie, then you want to wear a hoodie. But what I would share with you is, you want to try not to fit into everybody. And I know that's difficult at 15 and 16, but I guess this is where you're going to have to decide. Do you want to be like everybody else? And my point to you is, look at everybody else. Does everybody look happy to you? Does everybody else look content to you? Does everybody else look like they have good relations? If you want to become like them, and the majority of people don't have good relations, they don't have good communication, they don't have good grades, then start behaving like them. But if you want to be unique, if you want to be somebody who's valued, somebody who's respected, let me take this further. So respect comes from a number of things. And one of the things that respect comes from is for competence. We respect people who are really, really, really good at what they do. The other way we respect people, and the second way, is we respect people who have conviction. People who are willing to stand apart from the crowd. We don't if somebody got the same... See, let me put this. How do I put this? If you join our crowd and you become a sheep like us, even if you have higher standards, we will treat you as one of us. Does that make sense? Which is part of the reason why I'm saying to you that you want to be very careful not to fit in. Because if you're 15 and you're hanging around with other sheep, or you're flocking with other pigeons, ultimately pigeons will treat you as one of them. Right? They will lower your standards to one of them, to be like one of them. And you want to be very careful to protect certain things in your life, is what I would share with you. So that's kind of where I would go if I were you. You're not crazy, you're not mad. This same situation that you're experiencing, loads of other people have experienced. But what I would share with you is, you've got to trust your dad in that particular area to do with boys and wearing the abaya. And I would start getting that book on boundaries. And the last thing that I would share with you, particularly around your self-confidence, is study it. That's what I say to everybody. Any area you want to improve or progress, study it. So if you're somebody who is clearly you're having problems with your self-esteem, Study. Go and buy every book on self-esteem that you can buy. Go and listen to go and read a Kindle. Go and buy every audiobook that you can if you don't like reading and listen to them. Go and read articles on self-confidence. Because what this will do is it will give you ideas, and ideas can be life-changing. That's what I would share with you, and I hope it helps you out. But thank you very much for the question. All right, so let's go to the third one. The third one says, hello. As everyone else, I have a dream job, which is to be an astronaut. I know that not everyone gets their dream job, but I want to try it even if I fail. The reason for choosing astronaut is because I have been interested in astronomy and physics since I knew about them. At first, I thought it was impossible because of where I lived before. But I've moved to England in October of 2020, which gave me hope. I know some of the basic requirements, which one of them is a degree in STEM. But I don't wish career which will really take me to astronaut, and plus how to do the flying experience. So in short, I'm really confused with my information. I know many of you might think that this is impossible or difficult, but I want to try. If I don't be an astronaut, then stick with whatever job I was doing and have fun with my life. Can you help me with the requirements? And also, I'd really appreciate your opinions and advice. I am in year 11 and 15 years of old, if that helps, which might explain why I am uneducated about certain things. I apologize for this. Wow. Okay, what a unique question. I love this question. You're speaking to me. This is my area. I love underdogs. I love people who want to do things that are impossible. You're talking to the right person, and you've asked this question to the right person. Okay, so firstly, let me begin off by saying this. Number one, I love the fact that you've been dreaming. Let me tell you something. I spend a lot of time studying people who do things that are impossible, and from a very young age, their mentality is very different, right? So I already know that you're on the right path. Do you know why? Because you're actually stupid enough to think that you could actually do it, right? Anybody who does anything which is impossible genuinely has to be stupid, because the odds are against you. The statistics say that you shouldn't make it. I mean, let's look at this. Number one, I'm reading the way that you've written this, which means that your English clearly isn't the absolute best. Number two, you already know that you haven't got the flying experience, which probably means that you don't come from a privileged background. And one of the things that you will learn about flying is that flying is not cheap, right? So I absolutely love, and I can tell you right now that you're already on the right path because of your thinking. The thinking is what separates people, because your thinking determines the way you feel. The way you feel determines your behavior, and your behavior determines your habits, and your habits determine your results. So I love the fact that you're already starting there, and you actually have a dream. Most people don't know what they want. Most people don't have a dream. So at least you now have something that you have to aim towards. Okay? That's the first thing that I would share with you. The second thing that I would share with you is I would get into what I call study mode. Okay? So when I coach people, particularly people who have specific types of goals, so people who want to become like Olympians, people who want to become top business people, the second thing that the first thing that we always do is we determine where we want to go. So at least we know that the direction that we want to take you in is the dream, is towards astronomy and towards becoming an astronaut. The second thing that we then do is we figure out the reasons why. Now, you've already given me one of the reasons, but you need more reasons. You need way more reasons. I mean, you should be able to, if you're going to do something impossible, it is going to be so difficult, it is going to be so hard, that you are going to need to have reasons that are beyond just like, oh, I want to do it for my job. I want to do it because it's not good enough. You will quit. It's too difficult. It's going to be so hard to pursue this. You're clearly going to have to get a second job. You're going to have to go to school. You're going to have to get specific grades. it is going to be hell trying to achieve this impossible dream. So you are going to absolutely 100% have to have really big reasons. The third thing that we get at, and that you need to start looking at and get into study mode about, is ways to get there. At the moment, it is obvious to me that the route that you're thinking of is one route, okay? We want to look at every absolute possible route to reaching and helping you to become an astronaut. That's the goal, right? The goal is to get there. It doesn't really matter. Does it really matter if you have to go into the army for 2 years? Not necessarily, because you want it that badly. And this is why a dream is important, because if it's not a dream that you absolutely are definitive about and you want it, you will not do things that you don't necessarily want to do. Because some people don't want to go into the army. But we know that one of the ways you become an astronaut is you go through the army, right? It's an easy way. You become a pilot. You're going to be flying every day. They're going to teach you. You're going to be flying with the best of the best, the latest technology. I mean, do you know what? It's an easy route to get there. So what I would share with you is study every route. How do you study every route? You study everybody who's ever become an astronaut. That's the easiest way to determine. Look at their lives. Get every book that you can on astronauts. Every book. I mean, if I came to where you live, there should be hundreds of books, autobiographies everywhere about astronauts, because you are going to need to know the route. You need a blueprint as to get there. And the way that you find a blueprint is by looking at people who've already achieved what you want to do. By the way, let me go back a little bit and say this to you. Your dream is possible. The thing that you want, it can 100% happen to you. 100%. Let me also say this to you. Sometimes in life, the thing that we want doesn't appear in the way that we want it in. Now, remember what I've just said, because at the moment, that's probably not going to make any sense to you, but when the time is right, you will get it. Sometimes what we want doesn't appear in the way that we want it. Many of us want certain things. We want to be in a relationship, but the person who we envisioned isn't who appears. We envisioned somebody who was white. We envisioned somebody who came from a privileged background, but actually the person who we've ended up loving is somebody who comes from a council estate, is somebody who doesn't have and articulate really good language, and they speak like a chav, but actually they're the person we've fallen in love with. Do you understand? So what I mean is, that's what I'm trying to suggest to you. So your dream is not going to finalize. It's not going to appear how you think it's going to appear. And you need to be open to that. Because if you're not open to that, as you progress it, you will quit, because you will say, well, clearly this is not working. No, it is working. It's just not going to unfold in the way that you want it to unfold. It's not going to take as short a time as what you think it's going to take. Think about that. And note and notice that most astronauts are not young. Okay? Most astronauts are not young. It's important that you get that. Okay, let me take this further. So, the other thing that is really important, and I say this to you, is you're going to need to start upgrading yourself. You're going to need to start spending a considerable amount of time on improving you. Let me tell you why. If you start now at in year 11 and at 15 years of age, working on yourself and developing, I want you to research this word, growth mindset. Okay? If you begin to develop what's called a growth mindset now at 15, you will be shocked at what you can become. The other thing as well that I want you to do is go on YouTube and study a man called Dr. Miles Monroe. Dr. Miles Monroe has a series of videos called Personal Leadership. Listen to all of them. Listen to every one of those that exists. Dr. Miles Monroe, anything that he has to do with leadership or personal leadership, study it, because you're going to need it. Because unfortunately, society and the schooling education system has brought you up to think like an employee, not an employer. They've brought you up. The English schooling system is designed for people to become employees, not to become employers. And if you're going to do things that are impossible, you're going to have to think like an employer. You're going to have to start thinking like a business owner. Like if something goes wrong or you have a problem, a business owner can't just say, well, I don't know what to do. They go and figure out what they have to do. They go and get what they have to get. They go and hire whoever they need to hire. And you're going to need to start thinking in that way. But the only way that you're going to start thinking like that is when you begin to improve yourself, work on your mentality, work on your health, right? Astronauts are extremely healthy. And this is where you want to become so good and so valuable that when the time is right, you will be positioned correctly. That you're going to be, basically, you want to ensure that when the opportunity comes up for you to be an astronaut, you are the best absolute candidate to be chosen. What you don't want to do, and is a mistake that most people make, is when I get there, then I will become. No, you want to become it now, so that when the opportunity arrives, you're ready. Meaning, you want to know everything about astronomy. You want to start getting every book and every article and everything that you can about the International Space Station and study it. You need to know everything. You essentially have to have been, you have to be an astronaut in your head and physically and mentally before you actually become an astronaut, is what I would share with you. That, I think, kind of is already enough, right? So let me just break those down for you. Number one, you need to, your dream is possible. Number two, you need to study astronauts so that you can see all the different avenues and the different roads that can get you there. Number three, you need to start working on yourself. You need to start developing yourself, okay? And number four, you need to really look at your reasons. Your reasons have to be bigger. I mean, you need like 20 reasons as to why you want to become an astronaut, if not more. Because the challenge is going to be so difficult that everybody's going to tell you it's impossible, which technically it is impossible based on your circumstances, right? So if you want to do something which is impossible, you're going to have to do things that are odd and weird and different, because the conventional route isn't going to get you to do something which is impossible. All right? So I hope that helps you out and puts you and sends you in the right direction. But thank you very, very, very much for the question. You can do it. I know that you can do it. I know that your dream is possible. It is. We know it. We've seen people do impossible things. So you can definitely do it. And send me a message one time when you become an astronaut. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you. All right, so let's go on to the fourth one. So the fourth one is entitled Bad A-Levels, Year Out of University, Horribly Depressed. And it goes something like this. Hi, I'm writing as I'm in a really dark place at the minute, looking for some reassurance or guidance. I didn't achieve the best grades at A-level. I got a C in English literature, a D in religious studies, and an E in French. I got into the University of Portsmouth on unconditional offer to study international development and French. However, I am currently in the middle of my second year and I've decided to drop the French element of my degree after a small mental breakdown. This means that I have had to take the rest of the year out of uni and start again in September. I'm currently working as a receptionist in a GP practice in order to earn enough money to pay off my student house. I was working at an average of 2.22 last year, but I hope this will improve once I'm studying international development. I am not really sure what it is that I would like to be in the future, but I've been looking into primary school teaching. My parents are primary school teachers and I'm familiar with the working environment. I'm really struggling mentally and scared that I don't have what it takes to be successful. Am I a lost cause? Okay. Thank you very much for that question. Very good question. Very good question indeed. Okay, so let me start off by saying this. You're not the only person who's experiencing this. many, many, many other people are going through the very same situation that you're experiencing right now. Many other people. You're not the only person. I can assure you of that now. And I know it may feel like you're the only one, but you're not. Right? This is literally my job. And I can tell you that I speak to loads of people who are experiencing exactly what you're experiencing. So be reassured to know that you're not weird, you're not bizarre, you're not odd. Secondly, if you're really in a really, really dark place, seek professional help. Okay? Seek professional help. People will help you if you ask them. Nobody can help you if they don't know what it is that you're going through. All of us, and here's the way that I try to help illustrate this to people. If somebody came to you and they told you that they were in a dark place, would you help them? Most of us would say yes. So why is it that you believe other people, that you would help other people, but somehow other people wouldn't help you if you came to them? Other people will help you if you seek it. It isn't weak. It isn't, you're not less of a man. You're not less than if you go and seek help. It actually shows how strong you are. And more importantly, it shows that there is areas of your life which you're vulnerable. Being vulnerable and having weaknesses makes you human. If you didn't have weaknesses, if you weren't vulnerable, you'd be some, I don't even know, you'd be some bizarre person. We all struggle, we all suffer, we all go through dark phases in our lives. And that actually takes me to the next point which I want to say. It's a phase, okay? If you're in a dark place right now, you know that it will end. We all know winter cannot last forever. After winter, for the last 2,000 years of recorded history, spring always comes along. Things will get better, okay? The key is you've got to outlast it, okay? You've got to fight. You cannot give in. You cannot give up. You're not a loser. You're not somebody who just quits so easily, okay? You're not weak. You're a fighter, and you've got to fight. Which takes me to the next point. I keep saying to people all the time, whatever it is that you're struggling with, whatever it is that you want to progress, whatever it is that you want to improve, study it. Study it. If at the moment you're really struggling with depression, study depression. Interview people who've got depression. Read books on depression. Read articles on depression. Read everything that you can. Listen to audio tapes about depression. You want to know more about depression than anyone. Why? Because information alleviates fear. Okay? Information alleviates fear. The more you know about something, the less you fear it. Part of your anxiety and your frustration and your anger is coming from the fact that you don't know very much about depression. You don't know how to fix it. You don't know how to overcome it. In other words, you're powerless. You feel as though you have no control over it. And part of the reason why you have no control is because you don't know how to control it. So if you study it, you will know, number one, what is depression? Where does it come from? How do you overcome it? How have other people overcome it? Really look at that. Study it. Okay? Which takes me to the next point. Study. If you're unsure about what it is that you want to do in life, study it. Study it. I mean, study people who have struggled with not knowing what they wanted to do in life and ask them how they did it. Ask your parents, Mum, how did you find out what you want to do in life? Ask your grandma, Grandma, how did you figure out what you wanted to do in life? Ask your next door neighbours. By the way, I just wanted to ask you, you know your job that you do, how did you figure out that you wanted to do that job? Now let me take you to another point. You're going to say, well, Cassim, they're not going to give me a good answer. Why would they? Hold on a minute. If somebody came to you and they asked you how you were good at something or how you got into something, would you not give them an answer? Of course you would. So why is it that you think you're so special that you would give everybody else advice and you would give them thoughts, but they wouldn't give it to you? Answer, they would. If somebody asks you a question that's genuine and they genuinely want to know, you would help them. So would other people. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some people who joke about it and they're going to be dicks, but there's always an exception to every rule. We all know that. But the vast majority of people will help you and they will step in to guide you and to help you into the light. The other thing that I really wanted to ask you is, you want to, number one, go and get yourself a journal, firstly. And if you've not seen my videos about journaling, go and get my videos about journaling. Because one of the things that you've got to be journaling about is yourself. You've got to actually study you. Okay, so your parents are into teaching. Clearly, they must love helping people. They must love developing people. They must have an ability to see other people better than what they are, which they've identified for themselves. My question to you is, what are you good at? Where is your leaning? Where do you naturally thrive? Forget about making money. Forget about that. Okay, you're too young at the moment. You will make money. You've clearly have seen, if you really wanted to make money, you can get it. You've already got a job at a GP receptionist. Okay, so getting money isn't a problem for you, right? The question is, what would you like to do? How would you like to serve? Who would you like to serve? Ask yourself, in your journal that you go and buy on Amazon, ask yourself, who would I like to serve? Who? Like, what difference? What would I like to make with my life? If you don't know, study it. Study people who've made a difference and figure out how they made that. In other words, you want to become a leader. You want to become a shark. No. Let me rephrase that. You want to have the mentality of a shark, the mentality of an eagle, the mentality of a lion, right? You want to attack the problems that are in front of you, not cower in front of them, right? You want to go out there and actually explore. Look at your life as an experiment. Go and try to actually experiment. What's this? What's that? What do I like? What don't I like? Which leads me to my next point. If you're not sure what you want to do, usually the reason why people don't know what they want to do is usually because of two reasons. Number one, they do know what they want to do, but they don't know how they're going to make money out of it, or they don't know how they can make a career out of it, or the other reason is that they don't want to, which is linked to that reason, is that they don't want to disappoint their parents, or their parents have something which they wanted them to do for a long time, and if they're going this route, then it's not going to work out. And the second reason is because they haven't been exposed to it. Imagine your whole life were supposed to become a dog walker, but you don't know that dogs exist. You know that your area is to do with dogs and helping dogs and rescuing dogs and becoming a dog groomer. Imagine if you never meet a dog in your life. One of the things that leads to an abundant life, and particularly when it comes to happiness, is you've got to find where your home is. Where is home for you? You've got to find where you fit in. You got to find where you belong. You cannot find where you belong, where you fit, until you are exposed to it. Which means go out there. You know, here's what I genuinely, if I was in your situation, this is what I would do. I would take the journal that I've just bought, and I would write down a list of all the things that I'm really good at. And I would write down a list of all the things that I'm not good at. I would then write down a list of all of these things that I'm good at. What jobs could I do which are linked to these areas of which I'm naturally good at? And then what I would do is I would break them down and say, okay, if I could only do 3 or 4 of these, which ones would I do? Okay, I know I've got like a list of 20 different jobs that I can do, but which ones have better kind of working hours for me? Which ones mean that I don't have to travel all the time? Which ones means that I work as a team because I'm naturally good at working as a team? Okay, break it down to about 3 or 4. And then this is what you do. You spend 6 months working in each one of those areas. 6 months. That's what you do. 6 months. And after 6 months, you stop. Okay? You stop and then you get out of it. So for example, if you say, okay, I'm going to become a teacher. What you do is you say, Mum, Dad, can I come and shadow you? Can I come and become a teacher? Right? Whatever you need to do, you may have to go and work as a receptionist. But basically, you figure out a way, and this is the key here, you figure out a way. Okay, it isn't going to come naturally to you. If you genuinely want this, you're going to have to work hard. You're going to have to persuade people. You're going to have to go outside of the box. And you figure out a way to work as a teacher for 6 months. If you want to become a chef, guess what? You go and figure out and find any restaurant and you work there for 6 months. After 6 months, you quit and then you go and do something else. And when you do that, I guarantee you, after like the second or third job, you will know what you want to do. Because you will learn a lot about yourself. You will learn, okay, so I don't like working night shifts. So working in a nightclub is not going to work for me. Oh, right. I don't really like working in as part of a team. I'd rather have my own kind of role within a group and an area where I can excel and I can work the majority of the time alone. Okay, so clearly, I don't know, doing a certain job is not going to work for me. So that's what I would personally recommend to you and where I would begin your journey if I was you. And I hope it's been kind of useful. Thank you very much for the question, though. So that leads us to our last question, which says, I want to go to university, but I only have GCSEs. Help me. And it goes something like this. So it says, sorry, had to be anonymous as people I know in life will clock who I am. I'm 20 and I'm really depressed. I want to go to university this September. I have failed the access course last year, so I don't want anyone mentioning this as an alternative. I have been kicked out of college 3 times due to depression and anxiety, but this year I'm well and I want to go to uni so bad. I don't get along with my parents as they see me as a strange child. I want to do a foundation year with a degree or a foundation degree in the subject music. Please, will this work for me? I am not late, by the way, as I can apply through extra and clearing and my course is still available. Please also don't tell me to do an apprenticeship or job as I don't like working and I want a degree to become a music teacher or FE lecturer. Hashtag sad life. Okay, so let me begin by saying thank you very much for the question. Let me begin by saying to you, you're doing just fine. Okay, you're going through a period in your life where you're just trying to figure things out, right? And when you're trying to figure things out and you're trying to kind of sort things out, there isn't going to be structure. There isn't going to be momentum. It's a bit like clearing your room. If you've ever decided, right, I'm going to clean my room today, one of the things that you will know is that there's going to be things everywhere in your room and there's going to be clothes that you're trying to chuck out on the bed. And when you're going through the process of that, it doesn't look as if you're actually making any progress. In fact, it actually looks messier than before, right? But you know that after you've got rid of all those clothes that you don't need and you've hoovered and you've cleaned and you've done the window and you've changed your bed, we all know that what ultimately ends up happening is we end up with a really clean room. So at the moment, you're just going through a period where you're kind of trying to rejuggle things. You're trying to shift things. You're trying to figure out what you want to do. Now, let me say this to you. When it comes to depression, I always say to people, study the area which you want to improve or that you want to progress in. So, if you've clearly identified that you have a leaning towards sometimes feeling depressed, and you know that this has happened several times, one of the things that you should know now about yourself, because remember, if you don't learn, if something happens once, then everyone will forgive you because everyone's naive and sometimes no one knows any better. If it happens twice, it's because you now didn't pay any attention the first time it happened. If it happens 3 times, you either now are ignoring it or you're doing it deliberately even though you know the consequences. So let me say this to you. If you now know that you clearly have a leaning towards depression, this is something which you now know you're going to have to handle. Okay? It's clearly persistent. It's clearly something which is going to come up again. So yes, you know that you may be feeling good right now, but what I would share with you is prepare, because it's going to come again, which means you now need to set up defenses. You now need to structure and position yourself in such a way that when it comes, it doesn't last as long. You've got to now look at studying depression. Where is it? Why does it come from? Study yourself. What am I doing usually when I become depressed? How am I feeling? What series of events happen in my life when I'm feeling depressed? And then start to field and guide yourself and protect yourself against them. Because part of life has two parts. One is called behold. Behold is look at what we can do, look at what life can bring us, look at the memories we can create. But two is beware. Beware means I've got to defend what I've protected. I've got to defend what I've built. I've got to defend what is mine. Because other people will try to take it. The weeds will try to take over the garden if you leave them. If you don't try to eradicate them, the weeds will take over your garden. And so you have to be aware of that, and you have to protect yourself, right? Don't be, this is too complicated for me to get into in a very short amount of time. But one of the areas as a male that you've got to be careful about is you've got to be very careful not to go into this route of believing that you're a good guy. Because if you believe that you're just a good guy and you don't have the capacity for malevolence, people who are evil will manipulate and use you. Because people who are evil, when they identify that you are dangerous, that you do have the capacity for malevolence, they will use it for their own good. And if you don't know that you're dangerous, and you've never studied yourself, and you think you're just a good guy, you're going to have a serious problem on your hands. Let me take this further. If you don't realize that you having depression is dangerous, right? And when I talk about dangerous, I mean it impacts how your family are. Your mum worries about you when you're depressed. Don't think that just because you're depressed and you're keeping it from everybody, that nobody can feel it, that the energy doesn't change when you're in the room, that people can't sense it. People can sense it, they just don't know how to articulate it, and they don't know what it is, right? It's like, have you ever seen somebody who is angry at you but is pretending that they're friends with you? You can feel their energy. You can sense that they don't like you. There is something about it. You don't know what it is, but you can kind of feel it. And so this is why I'm telling you, if you don't protect yourself against depression, if you don't study it, if you don't really read every single book that you can about it so that you know how to handle it, so that you know how to protect yourself against it, right? What's going to happen is it's just going to keep happening over and over and over and over and over again all throughout your life. Handle it. Deal with it. Let me go on to the next thing here. I love the fact that you've kind of determined for yourself what you would love to do, which is either to kind of become a music teacher or get into a career where you're kind of an FE lecturer. I love that. So I am a little bit concerned, however, about something that you said, which is that I don't like working. That's a problem, because if you don't like to work, then you cannot have multiple things are not going to come into your life because of that. Number one, you can't get respect. People don't respect people who don't work hard, right? We don't respect people who don't work hard. But actually, I think that really the more interesting area that you want to look at, by the way, the other thing that I wanted to say is respect, right? You don't get respect, and secondly, you can't get competent. You don't become good. But anyway, the other area that I would say you want to look at is you want to look at what your motivation actually is. I mean, why are you doing all of this? Why do you even want to become a teacher? Because not one time have you ever really, when you wrote any of this, have you talked about your motivation, your mission, your purpose, your reason for being here, right? And that's a key principle of life, to determine, why am I doing what I'm doing? Why do I want to become a teacher? Why do I? Because if it's all about you, then you can understand that why would you? let me share with you something that's interesting. So I've spent a lot of time studying suicide survivors. And one of the things that suicide survivors talk a lot about is about what they were thinking about in their head when they were thinking about committing suicide. And one of the things that they talk a lot about is that they would think, well, if I died, nobody would miss me. If I died, nobody would even make any difference anyway. They would say things like, people would be better off if I was gone. Meaning that these individuals didn't see a purpose for their life. They didn't realize that in some way them being existing and them being alive has an advantage to their family, to their community, to their work colleagues, to their neighbors. They didn't see their own significance. And if you are going through life, and this is what I would share with you, if you're going through life and you believe that it's all about you, right? And you're arrogant enough and proud enough to just think that it's all about you and what you want and what you get, you're going to have serious issues with life, because everything is connected. We're all connected. What you do affects me. What I do affects you, right? The fact that I'm doing this video, if I didn't do this video and you didn't hear it, some of the things that you need to become your highest, fullest expression of yourself, you might not actually manifest. Why? Because I haven't done this video. Now, obviously, I could sit here and say, well, why should I do the video? Why should I sit here and share my thoughts with you when you're just going to write horrible comments and tell me how you don't agree with me? But it doesn't matter, because it isn't about me. It's about me trying to serve you. It's about me trying to, in some way, help you to become a higher, fuller expression of who you're capable of becoming. And that's what I would personally recommend to you that you look at. What is your mission? What is your purpose? What is your motive? Why are you doing anything, right? And if you don't know what those are, look at it. Get yourself a journal and start to write down what is important to you. And if you don't know what is important and what you would like to fight for, what you believe in or what you would die for, go out there and actually, do you know what I actually would recommend to you is get a journal and just start observing the world. You know, a lot of us can be so consumed, which is part of the reason why it's all about us. We can be so consumed with it's about me and everybody's doing this to me and I'm an introvert and I am a victim and this depression has got me. It's all about us. We can be so consumed with ourselves that we never actually see what else is going on in the world. Right? We never actually are conscious, are aware of what actually is taking place around us. And when you stop many times looking at yourself and you begin to look at the world, many of the answers to the problems that you're experiencing are actually outside. Actually, a lot of people can help you. A lot of people can guide you. A lot of people can connect with you. A lot of people have the resources that you need. A lot of people have the guidance that you are looking for. But you have to actually be aware that it exists. You cannot be inwards and also put your hands out to what is in front of you and around you. Does that kind of make sense? So those are the 5 questions that I wanted to answer this week, and I don't know whether they've been useful for you or not. You know what to do. If you have a question and you want me to answer it, email me, DM me, all the usual stuff, comment below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel Cassimotive on YouTube, which is where we put most of the content, and you want to join our community. But apart from that, thank you very, very much for watching, and I shall see you in the next episode. Bye for now.